When you have the benefit of finding a piece of music that you like, even though it's usually only 3 minutes long, or finding a book that you're feeling particular resonance with, or you have a new one that you are in love with that you are holding as your object of attention. When you have moments in time where you can focus for periods of time where no resistance enters into the arena for a specific period of time, 17 seconds gets it going. Another 17 seconds really adds to it. And when you are able to sustain 68 seconds without resistance entering into the equation, you have moved your vibration significantly. And that's what's happened to several of you on several occasions here today. We talked about the deepest of subjects. We talked about things that matter to you the most. And in all of that, you shifted your vibration significantly. So what that means is, over the next few days, if we were standing in your physical shoes, since we are standing in your physical shoes, it is our intention to watch for evidence of the new alignment that you've practiced in these hours that we have been together. That evidence is going to thrill you. It's also going to buoy you. When you see it, when you come across it, consciously acknowledge it and make the correlation in your own being. This is as a direct result of my holding myself in vibrational alignment. And I can do that relative to everything. Sometimes people aren't so eager to express their appreciation for contrast, but it's only always because they haven't figured out how to focus, or they haven't figured out what the criteria for focusing is. If there's just a lot of variety and you're just giving all of your attention, or wanted and unwanted your attention, then you've got a sort of sloppy focus going on, which means you've got a sort of sloppy point of attraction going on. And when you are not focused deliberately, or when you're creating by default, then you get some of what you want and some of what you don't want. And there's no real downside to that, because in that process you get more and more clear about what you do want. But if the clarity about what you do want is coming on stronger and stronger, but your ability to focus on what you want is not becoming more practiced, then you just get a bigger life, but it's not a comfortable life. It gets bigger. There's a lot more variety. You can parlay your life into really wonderful things. We've been saying to you for a while, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, and there's a bounce in that, because when you know what you don't want, a rocket of desire shoots out of you. And so knowing what you do want is predicated in part upon knowing about what you don't want. We just don't want you to make a life career out of knowing what you don't want. We want you to get more oriented toward knowing what you do want and speaking more about what you do want, and therefore practicing more of the vibration of what you do want, and therefore holding a more consistent vibrational point of attraction about what you do want, and therefore setting a vibrational grid that aligns with the core grid. We'll talk about grids all through this day, because we want you to begin to consciously acknowledge your point of attraction. So whether you ever hear this from us or anyone else or not, it really would not make any difference, because it doesn't stop it from happening just because you're unaware of it. Just because you don't know that you're a leading edge creator doesn't mean that you aren't. And just because you don't know that you are a vibrational creator doesn't mean that vibration is not responding to you. And just because you've never heard of law of attraction doesn't mean that it doesn't consistently respond to the vibration that you're offering. All of those things are happening even in your ignorance of them. We call that creating by default. So even if you don't know why you're here, you're still here. And even if you don't know why you're exploring contrast, you still are. And even though you don't know you're giving birth to rockets of desires, you still are. So step one of the creative process is always happening, whether you know that it is or not. You are all contributing to the vortex, this vortex of creation that is the newly found desires that you are collectively adding to and individually adding to. Sometimes Esther would say to us, well, Abraham, I know you don't think I should be thinking about this because it doesn't feel good when I think about it. But it is true. It's true. And therefore, because it is true, I think that it deserves my attention. And we say, anything you give your attention to becomes true. And the more attention you give it, the realer it becomes, the closer it comes to you. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, the criteria that we would use for things that we would give our attention to are not the truth of them, not the evidence of them, not even if a lot of others or even most others are looking at them in that way. We would ask ourselves, in every subject that we might be giving our attention to, how does this attention to this subject promote more of what I want? In other words, it's true. Do I want it to be true? It's true. Do I want more of it? It's true. And do I want the more of it to come closer to me? And if the answer to that is yes, then give it all the attention you have time to give it. Talk about it, write about it, blog about it. Blog about it. But if it is not something that feels good when you give your attention to it, do your best to distract yourself from it. And sometimes you say, but it is so true and so vivid and so up close to me, I cannot seem to turn my attention from it. And we say, yes, you can. You just have to try a little harder. And often you say, but Abraham, it is so vivid and so real. And we say, why is it real? You've been giving your attention to it. Want to make it less real for you? Turn your attention from it. And you say, but it's so close and it is so big and it is so loud. And now there are other people around me pointing right at it and asking me, do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see that?